Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Valentine's Day in Genoa City arrived wrapped in glittering illusions, red roses, soft candlelight and promises of love, but beneath the romance, tension simmered like a storm ready to break. Hearts were poised to either soar or shatter, and by nightfall more than one relationship would stand on the brink. At the mansion, warmth filled the grand living room. Jack had made sure of it. The soft glow of lamplight reflected off crystal glasses and music floated gently through the air. He watched carefully, seeing the tension still lingering behind her smile. She'd been carrying anger, frustration over the endless conflicts and complications surrounding their lives, Jabot, and the families intertwined with their own. Jack approached her with a calm steadiness, placing his hands lightly over hers as he urged her to let go of that weight, if only for tonight. Valentine's Day wasn't meant to be another battlefield. It was a chance to reconnect, to breathe, to remember why they'd fought so hard to find each other again. Softened as he spoke about rebuilding Jabot, not just the company's strength but the peace they both deserved. His optimism wrapped around her like comfort, and slowly the sharp edges of her anger faded. When he offered his hand and invited her to dance, she accepted. Together they swayed across the polished floor, laughter and affection that reminded them both that love wasn't just passion, it was partnership, resilience and forgiveness. Across town at Society, the atmosphere carried a different kind of electricity. Kyle sat alone at the bar, nursing a drink, the loneliness of the holiday clinging to him despite the crowd. That was when Charles appeared, confident, magnetic, and impossible to ignore. Her eyes sparkled with playful challenge as she slid onto the stool beside him, casually teasing him about spending Valentine's Day in solitude. She wasted no time pushing boundaries, even suggesting her drink be placed on his tab, her tone dripping with provocation. Kyle didn't miss a beat. Their banter quickly turned sharp, laced with personal jabs and unresolved chemistry. When mention's trip to Los Angeles with Holden, Kyle countered coolly, hinting that might be the one who should worry, especially given her history with Holden. The tension between them shifted, turning from verbal sparring to something more dangerous. Leaned closer, her confidence unwavering as she claimed she might be his obsession, but insisted he could never truly have her. Kyle's response came not with words but action. He pulled her into a series of stolen kisses, sparks igniting between them. Yet even in that heated moment, pride ruled. He pulled back, she would never have him either, before walking away and leaving her to pay for her own drink. Remained seated, her fingers lightly circling the rim of her glass, intrigue dancing across her expression. She wasn't offended, she was energized. Whatever game had just begun between them was far from over. Meanwhile, at the GCAC, Adam and Chelsea found themselves navigating a very different conversation over dinner. Adam revealed the latest chaos, Summer's shocking betrayal of Kane. The story unfolded like something out of a thriller, chloroform, deception, and a calculated move that handed control of enterprises to herself. Chelsea reeled at the sheer ruthlessness of it all, her disbelief evident. Adam added that Billy had played a role too, gaining chancellor and media through the fallout. Even amid the corporate warfare, Chelsea clung to faith in Victor, believing he would eventually restore order. Yet for one evening she pushed aside the corporate battles. Romance took center stage. The couple shared dinner, laughter and speculation over life after Chelsea mentioned finding torn Valentine's cards. The possibility of their son having a girlfriend stirred both curiosity and concern. Adam found himself reflecting on fatherhood, wondering if was ready for young romance and whether he himself was prepared to guide him through it. But questions gave way to tenderness. Adam drew Chelsea onto the dance floor, and for a while the outside chaos disappeared. In each other's arms, they rediscovered the simplicity of connection, two people choosing love amid turmoil. Far from Genoa City, Los Angeles shimmered under a different skyline as Noah met Sienna. Their reunion carried emotional distance despite physical closeness. Sienna held firm to the belief that Noah should have respected her letter and stayed away. She couldn't shake the idea that they came from incompatible worlds, his rooted in Genoa City, hers adrift between identities. Sienna confessed that even returning to Los Angeles hadn't brought clarity. She felt out of place everywhere, belonging neither here nor there. Noah refused to accept defeat. He pleaded for a chance to overwrite painful memories tied to her past, promising that together they could create something new, something hopeful. His sincerity reached her. Slowly, guarded walls lowered. Music filled the air as they danced, tentative at first, then closer. And when their lips met in a passionate kiss, it marked not resolution but possibility. Back in Genoa City, Billy prepared what he believed would be a defining romantic gesture. His place glowed with Valentine's decorations, flowers, champagne, and carefully arranged details meant to signal commitment and love. When Sally Spectra arrived, she couldn't deny the beauty of it all, yet her heart wasn't so easily persuaded. She refused to compartmentalize their problems simply because of romance. Billy soon revealed the truth. He was now in charge of Chancellor, and Kane had been pushed aside after betrayal and counter-betrayal reshaped the corporate battlefield. The bigger shock came next, had taken control of enterprises. Billy insisted his own hands were clean, but Sally wasn't convinced. When she realized he'd aided plan, her disappointment turned sharp. Billy defended himself by revealing he'd secured media for Sally's benefit, folding it into communications to strengthen their position. Instead of relief, Sally felt dread. She saw risk, a target painted on Billy's back that might endanger them both. Her frustration boiled over as she accused him of becoming the very type of power player who had once hurt him. Billy refused to accept the comparison, insisting ambition wasn't wrong and that their rivals deserved what they got. The divide between them widened with every word. And in that widening silence, love hung by a thread. Silence filled Billy's apartment after Sally's accusations landed like blows neither of them could dodge. The candlelight flickered across the carefully arranged flowers and champagne glasses, mocking the fragile romantic vision Billy had tried to create. For a moment, he simply stared at her, frustration and disbelief battling inside him. He couldn't understand why she refused to see what he believed was the bigger picture: strength, power, security. Everything he'd done in his mind was about winning, about he would never again be crushed under someone else's ambition. But Sally didn't see protection. She saw transformation, a shift that frightened her, a man slowly becoming the same ruthless figure he once despised. Billy tried to explain himself again, his voice rising as desperation crept in. He insisted that Victor and Kane had played the same games for years, that no one ever condemned them for dominance. Why should he be judged differently? Why should his ambition be treated as betrayal when he was simply taking control of his destiny? But Sally's expression hardened rather than softened. She wasn't attacking his success, she was mourning the loss of something deeper. The Billy she loved had always been flawed but principled, reckless but human. Now she saw calculation and rationalization. She feared that in gaining power he was losing empathy, and she refused to stand by while the consequences inevitably followed. She spoke of collateral damage, of enemies made, of the cycle of revenge that never truly ended in Genoa City. Billy brushed it aside, insisting she was exaggerating, that she should trust him. Yet trust wasn't something that could be commanded, it had to be felt. And in that moment, Sally felt only uncertainty. The argument spiraled, neither willing to surrender ground. Billy's patience snapped first. With a bitter shake of his head, he declared he couldn't keep living like this, under scrutiny, under doubt, under constant emotional conflict. His words echoed louder than he intended, filling the room with finality. Then he turned and walked out, leaving behind untouched champagne, wilting roses, and a relationship suspended in painful uncertainty. Sally stood frozen, absorbing the quiet that followed. The decorations around her suddenly seemed hollow, artificial reminders of a celebration that had never truly begun. Tears threatened, but she forced herself to remain composed. She knew their love wasn't simple, it never had been, but whether it could survive such deep division was a question she couldn't answer. Elsewhere, romance and conflict continued weaving through the night. Charles left society eventually, her mind replaying every second of her encounter with Kyle. His defiance intrigued her, the kisses, the sharp retorts, the unresolved tension. She wasn't naive enough to call it affection. It was something more dangerous, a game of ego, attraction, and strategy, and games like that were her specialty. Kyle, meanwhile, walked away with equal restlessness. He told himself it was meaningless, just a spark of chemistry ignited by circumstance, yet he couldn't deny the thrill of it or the curiosity about where it might lead. Valentine's Day hadn't delivered love for him, but it had delivered distraction. At the mansion, Jack and continued their peaceful evening, a rare stretch of calm. Their dance gave way to quiet conversation, to shared dreams about the future of Jabot and their life together. In a world defined by upheaval, they found solace in unity. It wasn't flashy or dramatic, it was steady, and that steadiness felt priceless. Adam and Chelsea lingered in their own bubble of tenderness after dancing at the GCAC. Their conversation returned briefly to the bittersweet realization that their son was growing up, stepping into experiences they could guide but never control. Adam joked nervously about navigating teenage romance from a parent's perspective, and Chelsea laughed, finding comfort in the shared uncertainty. Yet beneath there lingered awareness of the chaos surrounding them: corporate wars, shifting alliances, power plays that could reshape their lives overnight. Still, they chose to cling to the moment, to the music and closeness that reminded them love could endure even when the world outside trembled. In Los Angeles, Noah and Sienna remained wrapped in the fragile hope their reunion had sparked. The kiss they shared wasn't an ending, it was a beginning, tentative and uncertain. They talked long into the night, possibilities neither had dared consider before. Sienna admitted her fears of belonging nowhere, and Noah countered with patience and reassurance, offering her not a destination, but companionship on the journey. Their future remained unwritten, but for the first time in a long while it felt open. As Valentine's Day drew toward its close, Genoa City rested beneath the illusion of calm. Some hearts had strengthened, some had ignited, and others had cracked under pressure. Love had been celebrated, challenged, and questioned in equal measure. Billy wandered alone, wrestling with his choices. Sally remained behind, grappling with pain and doubt. Their separation hung unresolved, a fracture neither knew how to mend. And somewhere in the quiet spaces between romance and rivalry, ambition and vulnerability, the next wave of drama was already gathering, ready to test loyalties, shatter assumptions, and redefine relationships once again. Because in Genoa City, love was never simple, power was never stable, and every ending was merely the prelude to another storm.